It's a train. You know, one of the trains that I'm on is the health train. Make America healthy again. I love this. Bobby Kennedy's in there doing his thing. You know what I did? I did a show the other night from a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, 130,000 views. Late at night, it was Mercedes. I bought this Mercedes. Said, why don't you do it from the oxygen chamber? I got Annabelle this hyperbaric chamber for Christmas. You know why? Why wait till you have a problem? I'm nearly 70 years old. My wife and I are taking proactive activity all the time. When we discovered stem cells, we started doing the same thing. We weren't waiting for a problem. Annabelle had this surgery she had to have on her shoulder, and accelerated the recovery because we had story after story of how this level 10 matrix was making an impact in people's lives. And I want you to know, the stories are continuing. The testimonies are continuing. One lady that had a skin condition, 46 years old, I just read about this week, where her skin was separating from her body, her muscles, and in agony. She had the level 10 matrix, reversed the pain. She's chronicling it now. It's like her life has been transformed. You don't have to wait till you got a problem to be proactive. That's why I did this technology right now. It's level10matrix.com. It's what Annabelle and I do. Go to 1-800-361-2270, or you can put the word matrix in Instagram and Facebook. Either way, you're going to be able to get the booklet, the information, and I'm telling you, take proactive action. You'll be happy, and your body will be thankful for the rest of your life. Let's get into today's show. Welcome back to the Lance Wallnau Show. We're really breathlessly watching several developments happening live today, and we're covering it. You're going to get your prophetic perspective on these events, and I think you're going to find it most intriguing because we're dealing with the Pope right now. Mercedes, you're right here in the studio, so you can do the fact-checking on me as I'm going to say these things.
Okay.
The Pope is in a bad way, and the question is, who will be the next pope? And as I said in yesterday's broadcast, I only got halfway through my list of who is in the running to take his place. That the Christian community for a long time has felt that the end times will have a one-world religious influential leader, such as the Catholic Church Pope, who will throw their charismatic personality and weight behind an emerging political leader, who will be at first coming in like a lamb, but then discover that this is a dragon. This would be the ultimate test of discerning. When that happens, and that person is variously called the Antichrist in various ways. How close are we to then? Well, this Pope who is in office for that might be the man who is going to fulfill that role. So a lot of eyes are on who that candidate is. On the other hand, we're in an unprecedented interruption of time, which means that God's interrupting the agenda of hell and driving back left and right, taking territory back, as you're seeing happen all over the United States, but it's happening in the election process. We're going to go to Germany in this broadcast. We're going to go to what Macron is doing in America. We're looking at the geopolitical chess game and doing what very few prophetic news, great prophets that do broadcasting typically do Bible stuff. The Bible is profound. But it drills into, the Jack Van Impe end time scenario, and it's typically Israel and the Middle East, and that we look at this on our program a little differently. We see the complexity of the global order getting set up as sheep nations and goat nations, as empire versus the resistance. And the resistance is sovereign nations like Argentina and El Salvador and Hungary and the United States, which are attempting to maintain their resilience against being assimilated in the face of a third world war and a global economic reset. Two things that can literally reshape history at the end. And the characters that are going to play that might be alive on the earth right now, but God is putting a parentheses in history and pouring out his spirit on all flesh and raising up sovereign nations. Very exciting time to be alive. The first pope I mentioned yesterday in the running to take that seat is going to be Cardinal Pietro Parolin. He's the most political of all the cats that's running around right now because he's the Secretary of State. Did you know the Vatican has its own government? He's got his own Secretary of State, and this guy is right now ogling to take over Pope Francis's position because he has the most experience in the politics of the Vatican. That's why he's a dangerous guy. He will continue Francis's policies. He's 80 or he's 70. So we don't know if if he's the guy that's going to end up being potentially that false prophet that we've often anticipated will rise out of the Roman Church, or if we will have a John Paul, which is what Mercedes pointed out in the last broadcast, that heroic, Christian pope from, where was he, from Hungary?
No, he's from Poland.
He's from, of course,
Pope.
Polish Lech Walesa, and the Polish shipyards. And then Pope John Paul Wojciechowski. Can you get his last name?
Pope John Paul II? You want the last name?
Pope John Paul II.
I don't know.
Wojciechowski is with a J. Anyway, so this guy was the historic pope that worked with Reagan and Thatcher in order to bring down the Soviet Union and establish the sovereignty and the Christian identity, actually, of Eastern Europe states as they pre-existed before the Second World War. So we don't want Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the political State Department guy, Vatican Secretary of State, nor do we want Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, 67 years old, for the Philippines. He is the pro-prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization. A dicastery. I didn't even know such a thing existed. But it's a key Vatican position overseeing all their missionary work. Now, he's popular because this is the kind of cat you want to keep an eye on. He's charismatic. He has that kind of I'm a pastor approach. And he's very much in alignment with all the progressive tendencies of Francis. He goes Marxist. He goes bless same-sex unions. And this guy goes, amen, let's do that. So we are not enthusiasts of Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle. We don't want Francis's policies continued, so he's a bad choice. So we don't want Parolin. We don't want Tagle. The third one, 69-year-old Cardinal Matteo Zuppi. He's going to be, I assume, he's going to be the Italian Episcopal. Yep, he's going to be Roman, Italian. He's popular because he's a favorite of Pope Francis, because he blends the progressive tendencies with a focus on, you guessed it, DEI. He's all about inclusivity and social justice warrior. His ties to St. Egidio community, known for peace and charity work, bolster his credentials. He's got high-profile missions like peace talks in the Ukraine. So there's the guy that has the charisma to be trouble. His Italian roots and moderate stance make him a bridge between Pope Francis's reforms and traditional church values. It's interesting with the description I gave where the tradition is there. We don't really want Pope Francis's policies continued. So we're saying thumbs down on Zuppi.
I like how throughout this you work in a slight Italian accent. Like, it's not even an Italian. It's like, it's a zuppi with a pizza.
I watch Mario Brothers. I know how it sounds.
Is anybody good? Do we have any good options you've got over
I'm
there?
going to give you now the good ones.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm just telling you, the guys, I'm telling you the names. They may be famous in 3 days or a week. We told you first who the candidates were. Then we have Cardinal Peter Erdo of Hungary. We like Hungary. Viktor Orban. This is a good guy. So you want to pray for Peter Erdo, age 72. He's the Archbishop in Budapest, the former president of the Council of European Bishops. He has a history of communism and nationalism coming into freedom. He's popular because he's a conservative canon lawyer with a strong reputation for holding on to the tradition of Catholic doctrine. He's seen as a counterbalance to Francis's reforms. He's appealing to cardinals seeking to return a bit of the orthodoxy back to the Catholic Church. And his Eastern European background echoes Pope John Paul II. He is his heir. Oh, let's hope that Cardinal Peter Erdo, at age 72 in Hungary, is great. He has, by the way, he's on record, though. He's a little controversial for his opposition to communion for divorced and remarried Catholics. He's old. He's really old school. And his stance against refugee policies. And so he's not going with the Pope there with his argument that refugees ought to all be able to be free to go, open borders. He's against that. He's a better choice. But I'm going to give you the best choice. Ready for the best one? Cardinal Fridolin Ambongo Busunga. Will they have a black pope?
That would be neat.
From the Republic of the Congo.
That'd be amazing.
Age 65. From the Congo. This would be interesting. His Archbishop of Kinshasa and president of the Symposium of Episcopal Conferences of Africa and Madagascar. Why is he popular? Well, because he's emerged as a powerful voice from Africa, a region that's rapidly growing in Catholic population. his conservative stance, especially, get this one, he resisted Francis's approval of blessing homosexual marriages. He said, I'm not into this same-sex couple blessing thing. And he went on record as the one bold cardinal that said, you're moving in the wrong direction, Pope. And he's won support because he's holding the line on traditional Christian doctrine. His leadership in pushing back against progressive doctrines, while he is sensitive to social justice, makes him a unique composite. He's a better choice. So we got Erdo and Besunga. And there's some other guys that have been mentioned. I'm just going to give you these so you don't say, Lance, you didn't mention these guys. But there's a guy in Malta, he's 67 years old, named Cardinal Grech. These guys have been written in as being popular with their own political influence that might work their way in. And the next pope will depend on the priorities of 130. It's almost like the Electoral College. They've got 138 eligible voting cardinals, most of whom were appointed by Francis. That means they'll be pro-Francis successor, which is why I said the first three are pro-Francis, and it's the algorithm suggests that they're going to keep on moving in that progressive way.
Maybe not.
But maybe not. We did
not
pray.
With that confession.
We prayed yesterday, and I'm not undoing my prayer. We're praying that during the winds of revival, there'll be a new pope that will be flowing with alignment with the move of God.
Amen.
Hallelujah. But I had to cover that because nobody else was covering who the candidates are, because there's 5 that are going to take this pope's place, and they're all formidable. Now, once again, the doctors are saying the pope's condition is touch and go, given his age and fragility. So the other thing I want to say that is important is Ukraine. Macron is in the United States, and you guys have seen this already, I'm sure, that, the liberal media is just having an orgiastic celebration of a world leader coming to the White House and correcting Donald Trump during a press conference. And really, at the end of the day, Donald Trump lets him say his thing, and then he says, yeah, you got your opinion, I got mine. It has to do with how the money's being spent. Because Trump's big beef is that Europe isn't putting in the money that the United States is putting in, and they've got loan guarantees for the money to come back. And Macron interrupts him and says, actually, 60% of the money we put in is a combination of loans and grants, and the money's not coming back, but we're why is Macron in the White House at all? You might be asking that question. Why was he so urgent to get there? By the way, when he got there, they had a speed dial conference call with 7 other nations. So all the other countries in Europe, the big players, are all on a phone call because Europe is concerned that Donald Trump is brokering a deal without them. And they have to live with the deal he sets in there. And so Macron wants to make sure that he looks like the face of Europe, the leader of Europe, representing Europe to the United States. And he challenges Trump in terms of, not all the money that we gave was, the way you say it. And Trump goes, yeah, you believe what you want to believe. Because Trump doesn't believe that they're going to get their money out. The United States won't. And he's upset about that. And he's got a plan, and a brilliant plan, to get $300 billion out of this deal before we flush it down the toilet. And he's going to broker peace. We'll be right back. I'll tell you what he's up to.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
thanks America!
Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Lance to save big on all of Mike's best products. That's promo code Lance.
So Zelensky is wanting this. Here's what Zelensky's saying. We're going to go to Macron in a second. I want to cover what happened there. But Zelensky's saying that, all right, I recognize that there's some deal going on here. He and President Trump have been having a not good relationship. And some of the irritation in Europe, if you could really eavesdrop on outside the American MAGA media, and even the left is always hysterical. You never know what to pay attention to with them. But Europe's frustrated because they want everyone to remember that Zelensky's not the dictator, although Trump's saying that Putin is the dictator. Putin is the guy that hasn't let go of power in, 15 years, 20 years? He even puts in a puppet president, and then he's running the country. Then he comes back and takes over the presidency. And Putin started the war. Putin went in. Now, you could say, well, yeah, he did that because America, and really it was Harris that goes over to Europe and is talking about Ukraine becoming part of NATO, which would envelop Russia with nuclear-armed adversaries on every point, including the Donbas region, which is the region that overlaps with Russia, which has Russian-speaking people that really didn't want to be part of Ukraine, that were being persecuted. It's a complicated story. I don't want to get you lost in it. But for the most part, we oversimplify stuff in our thinking. And you need to know a little bit more of the complexities. Have you ever had your story told by somebody in a way that really misrepresented your part of the story? Well, here's the deal. Russia has felt threatened by the West. And when you start putting the labs in there for looking at what do they call them? Where they're like we had in China, where they're doing these pathology labs for
Chemical
viral
labs?
toxic experiments on. I mean, these things were actually in Ukraine. It's weird. The United States and Europe were making Ukraine an outpost of aggression against Russia. And really, we don't have to be that way. Russia has more conservative Christian influence in it than the United States. And so you got to reframe this thing. You may not like him, Putin, his policies. He may be a questionable character, but his values in terms of his worldview is more in alignment with Christian culture from the from the Russian Orthodox influence and the evangelical Protestant influence in his own country. So he's got a strong Christian value. He's against the LGBTQ movement. He's against the BLM race baiting. He's against the stuff that's woke ideology. Do they have suppression of information? Yeah, if it's hostile to the government, I mean, it could get a knock on the door. But what I'm saying is it's more complex than people think. And he's pushing back against the invasion of his culture from the West, which he sees as weakening and collapsing Europe. Now, he doesn't want nuclear weapons on all directions surrounding him. He does not want Ukraine in NATO with that guarantee. Zelensky says he's ready to quit if NATO membership could be given to his country. Well, that's not going to happen. Nevertheless, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has made it very clear that Kiev joining NATO is unrealistic. And that's your Secretary of Defense speaking for Trump. It's your military guy. So Trump is saying Zelensky didn't have any elections. He didn't have any legal elections. He's shutting down all dissent. And more than that, $300 billion has been given over there, and $100 billion he can't account for. He thinks Trump is just a money guy. He's looking at this thing and saying this is a sinkhole, and then Europe had guarantees of money being repaid. How in the world are they going to get repaid in the rebuilding of Ukraine? I don't know. But Trump's complaint is America, Lindsey Graham, State Department, Biden, you see the big slush fund they work with in the American budget. They trillions of dollars that we waste. They were just giving it to fight their proxy war with Russia, a war that Trump says you don't need to have with Russia. We could all do business. So Zelensky is a marginal character in this thing, but Trump's moving furiously forward, and Europe is mad because they got to live with whatever he's brokering, and they put money in. So they don't like what's happening. Macron is losing a little bit of prestige here because they got to have some face in the game because they put money in to this thing. Trump says, yeah, you put your money in, but you're getting your money out. Now, Macron corrects him or challenges that, and you'll hear this kind of convoluted 60% has been given, but it's loans and guarantees and this. We put skin in the game, but we've also got some guarantees back, but it's not all money coming back. And I want you to hear, because the left is just celebrating, which makes Macron's popularity go up with the liberals, the leftists, Democrats, because they love one world government. They love Davos and the oligarchs. If they could link up a marriage, a coupling in the spirit between the elites in Washington and the oligarchs in Europe and create one woke big empire that suppresses conservative freedom of speech, opens up your borders to immigration, and promotes like weird sexual values, they'd be in hog heaven. Trump interrupted that. And the elections in Germany and in France, and I believe coming up in England, are showing the populations are more sane than the out-of-touch elites who have their nose in the trough of power and privilege and are disconnected from the movement of the values of the people. But go ahead and play the Macron moment, because you've probably seen it by now. Every media outlet on the left is going to play it. Somebody finally challenged Trump. Watch this.
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated, because they are the one to have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
Again, just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. Okay. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan, because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day, and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
If
you they get their money back, we don't, and now we do. But that's only fair.
So Trump's basically saying, if you believe, so it's a combination of loans and guarantees, which we may get back, and we would like to get it back. So Europe is there because they want to get their money back out of this thing. Whatever deal's going on, they want to be in the deal. You're not in the room, you're not in the deal. But what Trump did was he had originally proposed. Now, catch this. Please catch this, because most people aren't talking about this. Trump is saying, if you want the U.S. to be involved, then the U.S. should be invested in the Ukraine. The win-win is that the U.S. has mineral rights to be doing business to the tune of $300 billion worth of mineral assets. We have minerals in Alaska. We got minerals all over our own country we could be exploring. But you see, here's what Trump is saying. You want us to make a military guarantee that we're going to put our military protection on you. Can't be in NATO, but you're going to be military protected in the truce. And Trump's smarter than that. He says, no, you don't want a military guarantee. You want a security guarantee. What's the difference? The security guarantee is based on our business investment. If we're doing business with you and we've got $300 billion worth of mineral assets that we're helping rebuild the country, and we're also doing business, and we're able to extract some form of wealth out of the ground one way or the other, then Russia won't attack because they're attacking our investment. America, there's two ways of having a treaty. One is we have a military alliance where our soldiers will protect you if you're attacked. The other one is we have a business connection. And if they attack you, they're attacking our business investment, and they're now invoking a pathway of confrontation with the United States. But it's not the direct lane of a military confrontation. It's interrupting our business interests, which brings us into the game. Zelensky rejected that. Now, at first, he met with our Secretary of the Treasury, and he met with Pete Hegseth, and he said, okay. Then he went back to his own lobbying group in the Ukraine and said, it's a bad deal. I don't like it. So Trump got mad at him because he feigned, that's good, and then went back and sold his country off of it. And that's when Trump came out with you're a dictator and a second-rate comedian, you had a 4% popularity at home. Maybe he does. Maybe he has like 30 or 40%. Who knows what he's got at home? But the fact is, he couldn't get out of the mess he was in. And Trump is accelerating. Now, why is Trump not calling Putin a dictator? And why is he saying that Zelensky is? Because Zelensky is interfering with his negotiations right now. And he's not trying to provoke Putin. He's not trying to satisfy the anger and the angst and the hatred of the Europeans towards Russia. He's saying, I got to work with the guy. I'm not going to call him a dictator. So America's going to have its guarantee, and I think that deal will go through. It'll be our way of maybe recouping from the $300 billion we put in there, $100 billion of which is unaccounted for, which went to the deep pockets of corruption. And Trump's furious, as we all ought to be, because our country is tottering on bankruptcy. This is the thing people don't realize. America's printing $1 trillion. Even what's happening with Doge, I hear everybody celebrating. They're ready to spike the football. Oh, 20 million here, 30 million of USA, 50 million for condoms for Hamas. We're exposing it all. And what? So therefore, that's pocket change when you're dealing with $1 trillion every 88 days. The truth of the matter is, America's in a dangerous place, as much as I'm celebrating all the progress. And I hate to give you the reality check here. But until we shrink the programs and the bundling of funds to states, unless we shrink that government down and stop printing this Keynesian $1 trillion every 90 days, we may be in a situation where no matter what Trump does to drum up $500 million, $1 billion here, $500 billion there, it's not enough. And so I celebrate the exposure of fraud. And I'm amazed at the fact that the left is angry at it. But I'm saying it's still going to come down to the street protests, the riots. The left wing can't wait before midterms. For Trump to fix this thing, he's got to go to the bloated programs the government never should have been funding. And then you'll see all hell break loose. So we're in the battle. We landed at Normandy. We're moving fast into the ground. We have not taken Berlin. Berlin is wrapped around tight. And we are in a spiritual war. But we're winning because it's step by step by step. Trump is able to take down these Midianite strongholds. The garrison of the Philistines is coming down one stronghold at a time. And we're moving in the right direction. But I don't want you misunderstanding the big battle we are in. And we'll be back again, as we are every day, to give you the update, because I got more I have to cover here. I haven't really covered what's happening with the latest, with Doge. Joy Reid got taken off the air. Did you know that? And what's going on with the media world. But we'll be having to cover that tomorrow, and we'll be right back with that later on. God bless you.
We're entering a period of time that has increased hostility against people of faith. It's a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral, physical, psychological, and even a financial basis. I'm here to remind you that God is the one who has blessed you thus far, and He will take care of you in the future. You have a divine responsibility, however, to see trouble and prepare yourself. For example, with record inflation eating away at the value of the U.S. dollar, the savings in your retirement account is in danger of slipping away. I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now that includes no penalties, there's no taxes when you transfer current retirement funds into Birch Gold. To see how it works, I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get your free info kit, and you'll be glad that you did.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate